Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason here at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki in downtown Brenham. And this is the December the 21st. Happy solstice and Christmas week. So we got all kinds of good stuff happening in the cosmos. Slightly intense. So if you are worried about being around family and it being intense, keep worrying. It's actually, well, it's pretty bad. So we'll see. It's actually pretty good. It's a lot of stuff. We'll see. You could use it for your benefit, or it can be quite detrimental to being around people that you don't necessarily share your full self with. So, or people that you don't see that often and have general questions about what life's going on. So let's just start with the solar weather. The solar weather's been, as far as CMEs, coronal mass ejections, and solar flares, has been rather low. There was a pickup at the end of last week where there were several solar flares, but not a lot of coronal mass ejections. So not a lot of radiation coming to the planet for that. But over the last couple of days, we've had a couple large coronal hole streams that have been pointing our direction or turning towards us in our direction, where the main plasma should be hitting us today into tomorrow. And so you'll sort of notice an increased pressure. But when those things, the coronal holes, the little dark parts of the sun, start to point towards the Earth, it starts to squeeze the Earth right when it points. It doesn't have to wait for the plasma to get here. And so those have, you've noticed there's been a kickoff of some earthquakes, especially in mainland United States and Northern California. And there's been some clusters over the last couple of days. And so those have been pretty big. And so those should be going away, but pay attention to that. And then the solar weather should be calm for the rest of the week. Like I said, the uptick in solar flaring shouldn't be happening till around February. So we're good on that. Of course, the sun could do what it wants, which leads us into the astrological stuff that's going on. And starting yesterday, which is the intensity, maybe even a little bit on Monday, but definitely into today, Jupiter is moving back into Aries. And so Aries is the Ram. And so Ram in Aries goes hand in hand with the higher mind, the golden fleece of the upper mind, right? So the higher ideals, your highest potentials, and Jupiter, the largest planet, right, starts to fund that energy where you really start to not necessarily think highly of yourself in a conceited kind of way, but that you really start to see the higher potentials of what's been driving you, what these urges have been, what this unrest has been. You start to really understand how that's coming into play. And so that Jupiter into Aries is lighting up the higher mind, right? So you'll experience the higher mind is the frontal lobe. So you might have a lot of tingling right here around the bindi, which is right at the hairline. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Right at the hairline. And so those little tingles with Jupiter in Aries are to be paid attention to. It's also a higher activation, right? So when Jupiter is in Aries, it's activating that so that not only are you aware of it, but that it becomes powerful. So this is when intention and free will and deciding your words correctly and properly that you want the positive outcomes to sort of happen is what you should sort of pay attention to. It's really going to give you an awareness of your potential. All these things probably over the last 6 months, right? So everything since around June, July, everything you've been working on, everything you've been putting into place, all the trainings you've done, all the readings you've done, all the ideas, maybe you started a new exercise routine and it just hasn't been panning out. And maybe it's not supposed to pan out the way it's supposed to. And so you're going to get this higher mind information from Jupiter in Aries about what all this potential's building for. What are you using this for? What were these skills brought to your attention? Basically, what were you being trained for that you didn't really know you were being trained for? You were just sort of moving into that stuff. And that's going to be a really good jolt because Jupiter's going to be in Aries till May. So about a 5-month run of this good energy of higher mind, of realizing what the last 6 months is supposed to be for, right? And of course, this is all if you don't get derailed by paying attention to things outside of yourself, but really the drive from inside of who you are. And so that 5-month cycle ends, or goes till May 16th. And so that's what I said, 5 months. And then this cycle is sort of a repeat, right? So if it hasn't been anything going on the last 6 months, then maybe the last 10 years, 12 years. This is a cycle reset as Jupiter sort of goes on a 12-year cycle from 2010 to 2011. Right. So what was happening to you in 2010 and 2011? For me personally, I was beginning in July of 2010. I was beginning my first month in my last church, where I sort of was coming into my own. I was started as an associate, ended up as a senior, right? So I was rising in my ranks of understanding of my leadership role. And then also a couple of years later after that, I was a candidate for bishop. And so those kinds of energies, what kind of things were I being trained for the last 12 years, right? Spiritual leadership, which is why I do stuff like this and own a shop the way I do. And why, when people sort of come into the shop, they sort of understand that there's this development of somebody who has a higher observation field, where I have more time to spend on seeing exactly what's happening in all aspects of the sun, the moon, the stars, the cosmos, the conscience, stuff like that, right? So what have you been working on for the last decade, 12 years, right? Dozen years. This is the energy where that comes to fruition, where Jupiter moves into Aries and your higher mind goes, oh, it's like that looking back to understand where you've been pushed, and then the desire, energy, and know how to implement that if you haven't already, or implement it even to the next level. Which also leads us to, hey, that's a lot of energy. 12-year cycle. It leads us to solstice is today. And solstice is winter solstice, especially in the northern hemisphere. Winter solstice is the time where we sort of hit those 3 days of darkness, right? So this contemplation, but we'll sort of hit that in a second. Just a quick little brief mention: the Ursid meteor shower is peaking tonight, and the Ursid meteor shower is going to be coming out of the Little Dipper, not the Big Dipper. So the Little Dipper, and best to view that after midnight, right? So we always talk about meteorites are going to cause extra sparks and aha moments, right? So this Jupiter and Aries into the higher mind with these Little Dipper, right? Scooping out these little nuggets of brilliance that are in you when these meteor showers start to hit. And like I said, after midnight, that's when that's going to do. So if you're already off for Christmas break or taking some vacation for whatever spiritual observations you're doing this year, then you can spend some time after midnight looking up at the stars. It'll be a little cold. There is a cold snap going through the United States. It's going to be even cold here down in Texas. And so this solstice energy is really this breakthrough energy. We're breaking through. We're looking at ourselves, right, for these 3 days of darkness, and sort of seeing what's going on. And it's a balance, right? So we're the balance in between seasons. So all this intense energy is going to almost push you into this balance and move you through. And then you're going to have these little sparks of information. Thursday, the solstice lasts about 24 to 36 hours, right? So solstice into tomorrow. Thursday gets even more intense for new beginnings. It's the super new moon, right? So the moon's closest to the Earth all month, and so that makes it super. And then it is new, which means it's dark, right? Which is a new beginning. They start lunar cycles on the new moon when it's dark. And so we have the super new moon, but it's also a super new moon in Capricorn, which also is a bunch of signs are in Capricorn. So there's a really intense energy on Thursday, which is the 22nd. And so we've entered that time of contemplation, Jupiter in Aries higher mind, meteor showers, and then the new moon, right? So it should be even easier to see in that new moon energy where it's dark. You can see the meteor showers coming. So it's almost like we're at this time of stillness where it's not, did I have that thought? Is that something for me? It's really going to be more brilliant, more clear information for you about how to move forward in your life. But this super moon in Capricorn is called usually the sea goat, in case you're wondering. All this energy in the sea goat, right? So is about climbing, and then in the sea, right? So climbing through spiritual, the sea is usually about emotion and spirit. And so the sea goat is climbing here. And so the sea goat climbing into a new you, into a higher you, into a higher elevation for all people that are sentient on the planet, right? So sort of pay attention to that. And sometimes people don't handle a newness that well, right? So it could cause anger and confusion. But for those of you who've been working on yourselves, if you're watching this, you probably are, then this is supposed to be awakening. And then so there's a whole bunch of signs, which makes it a Capricorn stellium, that are in Capricorn this month, this Thursday, for a couple of weeks, actually, or for a week and a half. The sun, right? So solar energy's in there. The sun is, broadcasting at us. Mercury, so communication about the higher stuff, how you're going to communicate these higher mind things that are going. Venus, how are you going to do it with love? Pluto, hidden things, right? This is things are being revealed. And so that sea goat energy on Thursday with the new moon is going to really sort of kick up a notch for the holiday weekend. And then we're not done. It gets even better. So that's Thursday. Friday the 23rd, which is the middle of the dark period where in the northern hemisphere typically the sun is below the horizon line, so the sun is sort of hiding in its these dark hours, right? These contemplation hours. That is when Chiron goes direct. So Chiron's been in retrograde for several months now. And Chiron, if you remember any of those several months ago when we talked about Chiron a lot, being in retrograde is going direct. So Chiron is the keeper of old wounds or discoverer of old wounds, right? So when it's kind of called the wounded healer, right? So you heal from old things and become stronger because of them, right? So this is people with scars, right? Oh, I remember that, and I remember I won't do that again, or I remember that, and I remember that I can survive lots of things, right? So this is moving direct. So you're starting to heal up from revealing, working through, and experiencing all those old wounds to all of a sudden becoming stronger because of those old wounds, right? So that's Friday the 23rd. So that gives us a couple of days until Christmas, right? And so Christmas is really the return Sunday of the sun, right? And when it comes back above the horizon, right? Like, so if you are obviously on vacation, or if you are obviously amongst people that are going through the same things that are closely related to you at the Christmas season and the holidays, and you can't really work on these things, then definitely by Sunday, so the day after Monday, the sun will be back, right? The light will be on your path a little bit brighter. And so it's just a intense couple of days for all sorts of reasons, and it's cosmically so. So if you're feeling that maybe it's just the winter blues, or maybe it's just interpersonal relationships with extended family, it's that, if you do have that, but it is also the cosmos, which is causing you to discover more of yourself. And it's really an ending of the last sort of 12 years cycle, which is causing you to sort of like level up. And so sometimes leveling up gets us uncomfortable because that next level up is unknown, right? And so the thing that you get to know is what you are moving into this unknown. And with this Chiron going direct, you get to know what you are and know that you survive a lot of things. And so you don't really have to worry about being able to survive. You just have to worry about being you and lighting your own path that way. I believe that is all that is happening here in the cosmos on planet Earth today. It is Wednesday here in Brenham, Texas. If you are watching this, I still have some appointments available for Friday before and after our business hours if you want to get in a energy session before the holidays. We have gone on hiatus for our elemental rhythm breakthrough breathwork classes. Those will return in January. I'll look for that announcement. And then the store will be shut and closed up on Saturday, Sunday. And we will be taking energy sessions, healing sessions on Monday, Tuesday after the holiday. So if you want to go online and book for any of the times that are still available for that, feel free to do that as well. Until next time, everybody, many blessings.